That was a short sequence that I just edited in Adobe Premiere. So today I'm going to show you Welcome to the basics of Premiere. What we're going to do today is literally just the very simple things. We're going to bring some files in, we're going to cut them together, we're going to do some organization because that's always fun, and then I'll show you some useful shortcuts at the end. When you first open it up, you're going to get a couple of pages where Premiere is going to try and help you. I find those pages slow and useless. So I am going to press X on the first one, and we're going to go to File, New Project, and then we'll see this little window. Depending on what kind of project you're doing, you can get so many files in your sequence. So we want to make sure we're organized from the get-go. So you're going to click Browse, you're going to find a lovely file location that you've set up so that it's all good and in the right place. You're going to navigate to it, put your file in there, you're going to title it, and then you're going to press Create. Once you've done that, you're going to have the second window that Premiere opens because it wants to help you. This is like a file explorer, but it's all graphically nice. But the thing is, because it's graphically nice, it's also slow, and everything takes ages to load. So you're going to press Skip, and that's going to show you the blank layout in Premiere. And then we're going to bring in our files by clicking in the project window on the left. Navigate to your files, select all the ones you want, and bring them in. Simple as that. But you're not seeing anything yet on your screen, and that is because you have brought them into the project, but they aren't in a sequence. So all you're going to do, select the files you want and drag them into the sequence. I tend to just drag all of them at once because I'm lazy, and then I'll reorder them later. Now you can see in this project window, alongside all your footage, you've got one that looks the same, but it's got a different icon in the bottom right. And that's because within your project panel thing, you've now got your sequence, which you can use in other parts of your project, different sequences, but that's all complicated stuff. The point is, you've now got another thing there, and that is your sequence. And there is something to note here that you need to keep in mind whenever you're creating anything, and that is how your files are formatted. Because we just dragged our files into the sequence is going to inherit the same properties. So if we look at the sequence, we can see that it is HD 1080, which is borrowed from our footage, and it is 29.97 frames a second, which is also borrowed from our footage. It is going to do that automatically unless you tell it to do otherwise, but we're not doing that today because we're in the basics. Now, it's inherited the first thing you brought in. So if you're doing like a multimedia project, maybe you've got some footage that you've borrowed from someone else, maybe you've got some pictures, because the first thing you brought in has its own properties, they are then going to mismatch, and you're going to need to compensate for that in some way in Premiere. You might need to rescale it, you might need to make sure that the frame rate is okay, but in general, you just need to be aware of it. There's not much you're going to have to do. The next absolutely exciting, enthralling part we're going to do before we get any editing done is some organization. Because once you've got loads of files in that project panel, it's going to be hard for you to find them. So you want to make sure that if you're working on a big project, or even a small one, if you have a bunch of files there, stuff is going to get lost, and you're going to create bins. And bins are just folders. You're going to create a bin, we're going to call it footage, because really at the moment we just have footage and sequences, and then I just put them in the right place, and now it's going to be easy to navigate and find the stuff I want. Finally, we can do some editing. Because I was lazy and dragged all my footage in at once, it's all in the wrong order, but moving footage around is super easy. All you do is click and drag within your sequence, and you'll see that it all changes in the preview window above it. So I found the shots I liked, I put them in the order I liked, but the thing is, they're all the wrong length. And to change that, we're going to have to cut some bits off. There's two main ways to cut. Using the razor tool, for which you can press C, or you just click the razor tool, or Control K. I will have all the shortcuts reminded to you at the end, and there is a PDF in the description where you can read all the useful stuff. But it's boring, so if you want to forget them, don't bother. Just click on the razor. And then you're going to go to the point in the footage you want to cut, and you're going to click on it. It's that simple. Once we've made a cut, we're going to delete the bit we don't want, and to get rid of the gap between my footage and the start, or between two bits of my footage, we're going to do a ripple delete, which is just deleting the gap. You click on the gap, it'll highlight in like white, and then you're going to press delete. Simple as that. Now we have the right footage, the right length, in the right order. But I have this extra shot in my sequence where the light reaches my face in a spooky, ominous way. And I want to make sure I time that perfectly. So instead of doing a bit of footage, then a bit of footage, then a bit of footage, I'm actually going to put it on top. Premiere has a super simple layer system, and whatever's at the top is what's going to be shown. The final thing I want to do with my sequence is to have the sound sort of make sense. Specifically, the door slams and then it's cut off because we're on to the next shot. So the way I fixed that was to drag the sound from my first shot down one, and then I want to make the sound longer. The thing is, the footage and the sound are linked, so if I click on one, both of them get selected. But you can hold Alt and then click on either one, and then you can change the length of it without affecting the other. So I held Alt, I clicked on the sound, I made it a bit longer so that we get the full door slam. So we have edited together our footage, and there is one last thing to do, and that's export it. Make it so it's not a Premiere file, it's a video that you can do whatever you like with. So the first thing you're going to do is go to the top left and you're going to press export. Simple as that. Now there's a bunch of different settings here that you can change, that you can fiddle with, but this is the basics of Premiere. So we're not doing any of that today. But we do have to look at those top 4 boxes, or top 4 sections. Thing 1, this is the obvious one, file name, give it a name. Thing 2, click on where it says location and then make sure you navigate to somewhere you want it to be saved. If you get into the habit of organizing your things, then it will save you so much wonderful time. Thing 3, or the third thing down, is the preset, which you're going to need to choose in a moment, but before you do that, you're going to have to pick your format, and they put them in the wrong order just to piss you off. So the formats, there are 2 that we're going to talk about today. There's so many different kinds you can use, but there are 2 important ones, and this is Premiere Basics, so we're only going to go through those. You have H.264, and you have QuickTime. H.264 is MP4, QuickTime is .mov. MP4 is sort of a standardized, across the board, compressed video file. It's the basics. .mov is almost the same thing. It's slightly better. It was developed by Apple because they like to be unique and upset everyone. But as long as you use either of those, all will be good in the world. Side note, H.264 is optimized for YouTube. Now you can pick your preset. You will see by default it says match source adaptive high bitrate. Match source is going to take the resolution from your sequence. So it's just going to copy everything over. It's going to do the same thing with the frame rate. And the bit rate, or adaptive high bit rate, is to do with the audio. It's a good default choice to go to. If you don't want to use it and you have a specific resolution in mind, you just click on the drop down menu and pick it. Now you've done all that, guess what? You press export and your job is done. But my job isn't, because before I go, I want to make sure to tell you about some shortcuts, because shortcuts are exactly as stated in their name. They will make your life much easier. So there's a PDF in the description with the core shortcuts, the ones that help you navigate to different tools. There's only 10 of them on the page. I'll also put a link to Adobe's official list where there's loads of shortcuts, but the problem with that list is that 90% of them you will never ever use. But the 10 on the PDF are very helpful. Fundamentally though, Control K is to cut on the playhead. Control Z is to undo the last thing you just did. And V is the button to return you to the mouse. People often get stuck in tools and don't understand why they can't click anything. Press V and your life will be better. This video is a bit denser than the other ones I've done, and it's a bit more grimy because it's talking about organization and file formatting and blah. But I hope it's been helpful. Could your chair be any louder?